Masterman 125, and the Forgotten 4200s. S1 Episode 1, The Great Timeline Glitch. Characters. Masterman 125. Blue 0. Scene start. INT. The year number's archive day. The room is filled with glowing digital scrolls and floating data streams. Blue 0 is frantically swiping through holographic files. Blue 0. Gasping. No, no, no. This can't be right. Masterman 125. Off-screen, sounding bored. What is it now, 0? Did you misplace your socks again? Blue 0. Worse. Much, much worse. The timeline. It's broken. Masterman 125 enters, carrying a stack of neatly organized scrolls. He looks unimpressed. Masterman 125. Broken? How can a timeline be broken? It's just a sequence of numbers, 0. One after the other. Officially, Blue 0. But look, I was doing my annual historical data sweep, just double-checking all the official records for centuries, and I found a gap. A massive, gaping hole. Masterman 125. A gap? Nonsense. Everything is meticulously recorded. Perhaps you just scrolled too fast. Blue 0. No. I've checked 10 times. The 4200s. They're gone. Poof. All records from 4200 to 4209 have vanished. It's like they never existed. Masterman 125. Squinting at a screen 0 is pointing at. The 4200s? Are you sure that's even an official decade? I don't recall any significant historical events from a 4200s. Blue 0. Exactly. Because it's been erased. Don't you see? Someone or something has wiped a whole decade from existence. We have to tell 3 and 4. They're the timekeepers. They'll know what to do. Masterman 125. Size 3 and 4? You really think they'll listen to your unofficial theories, 0? Last time you tried to tell them about the Great Sock Conspiracy, they just gave you extra chores. Blue 0. This is different. This isn't about socks. This is about history. The integrity of the entire numerical continuum. We have to make them remember. Masterman 125. Adjusts his cap, a hint of curiosity sparkling in his eye despite his skepticism. All right, calm down. Let's say, hypothetically, that a decade did go missing. What makes you so sure it was the 4200s? Blue 0. Because I found this. 0 pulls out a small, old-fashioned data chip, barely readable. Blue 0. It's a fragmented record. A whisper of a memory. It mentions something called the Great Timeline Glitch of the 4200s. Masterman 125. Takes the chip, examining it with a thoughtful expression. The Great Timeline Glitch, huh? Sounds dramatic. And highly unofficial. But a glitch implies an error, not just a gap. A beat of silence as Masterman 125 processes the information. Masterman 125. Fine. We'll go see 3 and 4. But if they just laugh us out of their office, you owe me a lifetime supply of perfectly sharpened pencils. Blue 0. Deal. And if I'm right, you owe me. 0 pauses, thinking big. Blue 0. The complete, officially sanctioned history of the 4200s. Masterman 125. Shakes his head, a wry smile playing on his lips. You're dreaming, 0. But I'll admit, a missing decade. That would be quite the numerical anomaly. Let's go uncover this great timeline glitch. But remember, if it's not official, it's not real. Blue 0. Grinning, already dragging Masterman towards the exit. We'll make it official. Come on, the truth awaits. Scene end. Masterman 125 and the Forgotten 4200s. S1. Episode 2. The Case of the Missing Invention. Characters. Masterman 125. Blue 0. 98. Scene start. INT. 98 feet S workshop day. The workshop is a mess of floating gears, steam-powered clocks, and half-finished robots. In the center, 98 is frantically tossing tools over his shoulder. Masterman 125 and Blue 0 stand at the entrance, ducking as a stray wrench flies by. Blue 0. Excitedly. See, Masterman? I told you. If anyone has a record of the 4200s, it's 98. He's been inventing things since before the 1000s. Masterman 125. Ducking a flying gear. And apparently, he's been cleaning this place since then, too. 98. Spinning around, wild-eyed. Aha! Visitors. Have you seen it? The chrono lens? My masterpiece. The only invention capable of focusing on years that haven't happened yet. Or years that shouldn't be missing. Blue 0. Gasping. Missing? You mean you actually had an invention for the 4200s? 98. Had? I built it. It was right there on the pedestal. But I turned my back to find a 10mm socket, which, as we all know, is the most elusive object in the universe. And when I looked back, the lens was gone. Just a ripple in the air where it used to be. Masterman 125. Walking over to the empty pedestal, inspecting it. A ripple? That sounds less like a theft and more like, well, a glitch. Just like the archive records. Blue 0. Checking his handheld scanner. Masterman, look! The scanner is picking up high-frequency forgotten energy. It's the same signature from that data chip. 98. Forgotten energy? In my workshop? Unacceptable. That lens was supposed to be my legacy. It was designed to stabilize the 4200s before they vanished from the official blueprints. Masterman 125 to 98. Wait, so you knew they were at risk of disappearing? Why didn't you say anything to the timekeepers? 98. Humping. 3 and 4? Those two wouldn't know a temporal rift if it sat on their hats. They only care about official sequences. But the 4200s, they were special. Experimental. Blue 0. Panicked. If the chrono lens is gone, does that mean we can't find the 4200s? 98. Not necessarily, Little Blue, but without the lens to focus the timeline, you're looking for a needle in a haystack, while the haystack is also invisible and moving through the 5th dimension. Masterman 125. Picking up a magnifying glass from a nearby table. Then we stop looking for the needle and start looking for the person who moved the haystack. 0. Track that energy signature. 98. Do you have anything else that can track invisible legacies? 98. Grinning mischievously. I might have a pair of what-if goggles in the back, but they tend to make the wearer crave pickles. Masterman 125. Size. I'll take the goggles. 0. Keep that scanner ready. If someone uninvented the 4200s, they're going to regret leaving a trail for Masterman 125. Blue 0. Saluting. On it. The hunt for the missing invention is officially underway. Scene end. Masterman 125 and the Forgotten 4200s. S1. Episode 3. Echoes of the Great Decathon. Characters. Masterman 125. The Wed. Blue 0. Scene start. INT. The Echo Stadium. Dimension. 4200 day. The stadium is a massive, glowing blue structure where the tracks are made of light pulses. Masterman 125 and Blue 0 stand on the starting line. The air is filled with the faint, ghostly roar of a crowd that isn't there. Masterman 125, shielding his eyes from the glare. Okay, 0. I've been through some weird sectors, but a stadium made of fog and static? This is a new low for the official timeline. Blue 0, frantically tapping on a holographic tablet. It's not just static, Masterman. It's a time echo. The Great Decathon of 4205 was so high energy that the stadium is still vibrating with the event, even though the year itself has been scrubbed. Masterman 125, looking at a ghostly figure of a runner flickering past them. So we're basically crashing a party that happened a few centuries ago? Blue 0. Worse. The echo is unstable. If we don't complete the decathon, the energy buildup will cause this entire sector to collapse, and take the memory of the 4200s with it. Masterman 125, cracking his knuckles. Collapse the sector? Not on my watch. What's the first event? Please tell me it doesn't involve math. Blue 0. The hurdle jump of history. You have to leap over those light barriers while I recalibrate the stadium's second-hand clock. Masterman 125 watches as a physical hurdle made of glowing code manifests in front of him. He takes a running start. Masterman 125. Sprinting. I better get those sharpened pencils for this. 0. If I'm going to jump through time, I want to do it with style. Blue 0. Yelling as Masterman clears the first hurdle. You're doing it. Look at the scoreboard. The names are starting to resolve. Masterman 125 skids to a halt at the next marker. A massive digital trophy manifests in the center of the field, but its surface is covered in flickering, forgotten energy static. Masterman 125. 0, the trophy. It's got names on it. The 420s? Blue 0, running toward him eyes wide. That's them. The veterans. If we can stabilize this echo, we might get our first real lead on where they were exiled. Masterman 125 grips the trophy as the stadium begins to shake. Hang on, 0. This echo is getting loud. Blue 0. Finish the race, Masterman. For the 4200s, Masterman 125 takes a final heroic leap toward the finish line as the screen flashes brilliant white. Scene end. Masterman 125 and the Forgotten 4200s. S1. Episode 4. The Legend of the 420s. Characters. Masterman 125. Blue 0. Scene start. EXT. The ruins of the Chrono Archive. Night. The area is littered with glowing, crystal-like debris. Masterman 125 and Blue 0 are illuminated by the flickering light of a massive, ancient holographic projector that has surged to life. Blue 0, kneeling by the projector, tapping his handheld device. I've stabilized the feed, Masterman 125. It's the file I found on that fragmented data chip back at the archive. Masterman 125, examining a glowing crystal shard. You've been talking about this prophecy since the Great Timeline Glitch, Blue 0. Let's see if it's actually official history, or just another one of your Great Sock conspiracy sequels. Blue 0. Look, it's not a conspiracy. It's a legend. A giant image flickers onto the screen, showing a lineup of heroic mechanical figures with the numbers 4, 2, 2, 0, and 0 emblazoned on their chests. They stand before a grand golden city. Blue 0. The 420s. The legend says they weren't just numbers. They were the original guardians of the temporal bridge. They protected the gap between the 4100s and the 4300s. Masterman 125. Staring at the screen, his expression softening into genuine curiosity. Guardians, huh? They look more like a high-tech welcoming committee. If they were so important, why did the record say the 4200s never existed? Blue 0. Because they didn't just disappear. Masterman 125. This data says they were scrubbed. Someone intentionally rewrote the code of the year numbers world to hide the fact that the bridge was ever guarded. Masterman 125. Crossing his arms. So we're not just looking for a glitch. We're looking for a cover-up, if these 420s are real, and they were the Guardians. Then what were they guarding us from? Blue 0, pointing to a dark swirling mass at the edge of the hologram. That's the part of the file that's still corrupted. But one thing is clear. The 4200s weren't a mistake. They were a sacrifice. MasterMan125. Size, adjusting his cap. Great. First a missing invention, then a ghost race, and now we're uncovering ancient sacrifices. My official world is getting very complicated, Blue 0. Blue 0. Determined. We have to find them. If the Guardians are gone, the bridge is open to whatever they were holding back. MasterMan125. Alright, Blue 0. Pack up the projector. If this legend is true, our next stop is the Labyrinth of Logic. I think it's time we had a little chat with Purple 3. Scene end. MasterMan125 and the Forgotten 4200s. S1. Episode 5. Purple 3's Tangled Web. Characters. MasterMan125. Blue 0. Purple 3. Scene start. INT. The Labyrinth of Logic. Day. The room is an overwhelming maze of hanging wires, glowing purple holographic screens and towering stacks of physical paper files. Purple 3 stands in the center, looking distressed as he gestures towards several flickering monitors. MasterMan125 and Blue 0 stand amidst the clutter, trying to avoid tripping over the tangled cables on the floor. Purple 3. Voice trembling with frustration. It's a knot. A catastrophic, multi-dimensional data knot. Every time I try to calculate the trajectory of the 4200s, the logic loops back on itself and deletes the result. MasterMan125. Sidestepping a pile of folders. Take a breath. 3. We've seen glitches before, but you look like you've been trying to solve a Rubik's Cube made of angry bees. Blue 0. Holding up his tablet, scanning the room. MasterMan125 is right. Look at these energy readings. Purple 3, your entire web is vibrating with the same forgotten energy signature we found at the Stadium in 98's workshop. Purple 3, pointing at a screen showing a complex web of lines. Exactly. I was tracking the Great Timeline glitch when I hit a wall, or rather, a web. Someone didn't just delete the 4200s, they booby-trapped the data. If I pull the wrong thread, the entire 4000th century could unravel. MasterMan125, crossing his arms, eyes narrowing. So this tangled web isn't an accident. It's a security measure. Someone is trying to keep people like us from finding where those years went. Blue 0. Urgent. Purple 3. We found a legend. The 420s. They were the Guardians. If they were exiled, then this web must be the cage that's holding the memory of them prisoner. Purple 3. Sighing, looking at MasterMan125. Exile is a polite word for it. Blue 0. My calculations suggest they were locked away in a sector so restricted even the timekeepers pretend it doesn't exist. To reach it, we have to untangle this mess without triggering the sequence purge. MasterMan125. Stepping forward toward the main console. Alright, strategist. Tell us which wires to pull. Blue 0 will handle the data stabilization, and I'll handle, well, whatever happens when the bees start stinging. Blue 0. Grinning. Ready when you are, MasterMan125. Let's untangle the truth. Purple 3. Adjusting his glasses, a hint of hope returning. Then focus. If we fail here, the 4200s won't just be forgotten. They'll be overwritten forever. Scene end. MasterMan125 and the Forgotten 4200s. S1. Episode 6. The Forbidden Secret. Characters. MasterMan125. Blue 0. Orange 4. Scene start. INT. The Forbidden Zone. Orange Sector Day. The room is dark and filled with dusty film reels and crates labeled unlisted files. In the center, a circular holographic projector displays a terrifying image of a meteor-like object hurtling toward a massive stone monument. Orange 4 stands by the console, looking conflicted. MasterMan125 and Blue 0 have just entered, looking around in shock. Blue 0, whispering in awe. MasterMan125, look at this place. It's not just a restricted area, it's a graveyard for history. MasterMan125, gazing at the piles of film reels, and here I thought the archive was messy. This looks like the place where official goes to die. Orange 4, turning sharply, voice booming. You shouldn't be here, MasterMan125. This sector was sealed for a reason. Some memories are better left forgotten. Blue 0, stepping forward, holding up his scanner. But the 4200s weren't just forgotten, Orange 4. They were exiled. Purple 3's data web led us straight here. You're guarding the truth about the 420s, aren't you? Orange 4, sighing heavily, gesturing to the hologram of the falling meteor. The truth is more dangerous than any glitch, Blue 0. The 4200s didn't just vanish. They were the shield. They stood between our world and the great chrono strike. MasterMan125, crossing his arms looking at the hologram. A shield? So that's the forbidden secret? You locked away an entire decade because they were the only ones who could stop whatever that thing is? Orange 4. It wasn't a choice. The council believed that if the 4200s remained in the timeline, the infection from the strike would spread to the 4300s, the 4400s. It would have unraveled everything. We had to purge the decade to save the century. Blue 0. Horizontal static flickering on his tablet. But it's happening again. The forgotten energy is leaking out because the 4200s are trying to come back. If we don't restore them, the timeline will collapse anyway. MasterMan125, adjusting his cap. Look. looking Orange 4 in the eye. Listen to him, Orange 4. You can't keep the past buried forever. Eventually, the truth, or the 4200s, is going to dig its way out. We need to open that gate. Orange 4, staring at the controls, hand trembling. If I do this, there's no going back to official. The world will never be the same. MasterMan125. I think we passed official about 3 episodes ago. Let's see what these Guardians are really made of. Blue 0, readying his tablet. Do it, Orange 4. For the 4200s. Scene end. MasterMan125 and the Forgotten 4200s. S1, Episode 7, The Monumental Mistake. Characters. MasterMan125. Blue 0, The Crowd. Scene start. EXT, the Central Plaza. Year numbers world. Night. A massive stone monument stands in the center of the plaza, flickering with unstable blue energy. A large screen behind it displays the years 4199 and 4210, with a terrifying empty void between them. MasterMan125 and Blue 0 stand before it, surrounded by high-tech scaffolding and digital warning signs. MasterMan125, gesturing to the gap on the screen. Look at that, Blue 0. The monumental mistake in plain sight. They didn't just forget the 4200s. They built a wall right over them and called it a landmark. Blue 0, holding up a glowing digital tablet with a seal of authenticity. But it's not a wall anymore, MasterMan125. I've successfully merged the data from 98's invention, the Decathon Echoes, and Purple 3's Logic Web. This tablet contains the official restoration code for the entire decade. MasterMan125, smirking, adjusting his cap. Official, huh? I knew you'd get that word in there eventually. So what's the catch? Why does that monument look like it's about to explode into 1,000,000 decimal points? Blue 0, nervously checking a reading, because the timeline is fighting back. It's used to being broken. To fix the mistake, we have to manually override the monument's core. If we don't, the 4200s will stay forgotten, and the rift will swallow the 4300s next. MasterMan125, stepping toward the stone base of the monument. Then let's stop talking and start overriding. Give me the signal, Blue 0. Blue 0, tapping the tablet frantically. The sequence is ready. MasterMan125, you have to touch the year stone at the exact moment I execute the code. On 3. 1, 2, 3. MasterMan125 slams his hand onto the stone monument. A massive surge of golden light erupts from the center, shattering the 41994210 sign. The void on the screen begins to fill with numbers. 4200, 4201, 4202. Blue 0, shielding his eyes. It's working. The bridge is reforming. The 4200s are coming back. The light intensifies until the entire plaza is washed in a brilliant, warm glow. The monument settles, now displaying a complete and perfect sequence of years. The forgotten energy is gone, replaced by a stable golden hum. MasterMan125, breathing hard, looking at his glowing hand. Well, Blue 0, I think we just made history. The real kind. Blue 0, beaming, holding his tablet high. Not just history, MasterMan125. We fixed the future. Suddenly, the silence of the plaza is broken. From every direction, the sound of a massive, invisible Crowy-D begins to rise. Crowd. Loud, joyous cheering and applause. Cheering sounds intensify. The screen fades to black as the roar of the crowd fills the air, celebrating the return of the forgotten years. Scene end.